The identity divorce, detaching your self-worth from your current bank account balance. Introduction. The most expensive equation. There is a quiet equation operating in the minds of many people that goes something like this. My bank account balance equals my worth as a person. When the number is high, I feel good about myself. When the number is low, I feel ashamed, anxious, or like I am failing at life. This equation is so pervasive, so deeply embedded in our cultural programming, that most people never question it. They simply live inside it, their emotional state rising and falling with their financial circumstances, their identity tethered to a number that fluctuates with the market, with unexpected expenses, with the ups and downs of any real financial life. This audiobook is about one thing, breaking that equation, about understanding why your self-worth and your net worth are distinct and separate things, why conflating them costs you dearly in every area of your life, and how to build the psychological foundation that allows you to pursue wealth without being enslaved to it. This is the identity divorce, and it may be the most important financial move you ever make. Chapter 1. How the equation was written. Before you can rewrite an equation, you need to understand how it was written. The financial socialization of self-worth. From an early age, most people receive messages, some explicit, most implicit, that connect money with value. Successful people are described as self-made, hard-working, deserving. People without money are sometimes described, subtly, and sometimes not so subtly, as having failed, as being less disciplined, less worthy. Children absorb these messages. They watch how adults treat people with money differently from people without it. They internalize the idea that having more money makes you more admirable, and having less makes you more invisible. By adulthood, the equation is deeply embedded. It does not feel like a belief. It feels like reality. Of course, your financial situation reflects something about your worth. That is just how the world works. Except it is not. It is a story, and like all stories, it can be examined and changed. The cultural amplifiers. The modern cultural environment amplifies this equation relentlessly. Social media creates a context in which financial success is performed, curated, and broadcast. Luxury purchases are announced. Business milestones are celebrated. Lifestyle aesthetics are carefully constructed to signal prosperity. Meanwhile, financial struggle, debt, setbacks, and the ordinary messiness of building wealth are almost entirely invisible. The result is a collective illusion in which everyone else's financial life appears to be going remarkably well, and any gap between your reality and that illusion becomes a source of private shame. This shame is the equation at work. It is the feeling that your financial circumstances say something fundamental about who you are. Chapter 2. The real cost of the equation. The equation between net worth and self-worth is not just philosophically problematic. It is practically disruptive. Understanding its real costs makes the case for the identity divorce undeniable. Decision-making distortion. When your identity is tied to your financial status, financial decisions become emotionally loaded in ways that impair good judgment. You take on risky investments not because they are strategically sound, but because you need the win to feel good about yourself. You avoid necessary professional conversations because they might require you to acknowledge a financial gap. You spend to maintain an image because the alternative feels like admitting failure. These are not rational financial behaviors. They are identity protective behaviors, and they consistently produce worse financial outcomes than decisions made from a grounded, emotionally stable place. The feast and famine emotional cycle. When your self-worth rides your financial circumstances, Your emotional life becomes a hostage to fluctuations that are, in many cases, entirely outside your control. Markets move, clients leave, industries contract, unexpected expenses arise. These are normal features of any financial life, and none of them say anything meaningful about your character, your intelligence, or your value as a person. But if your identity is tied to your financial situation, each of these events is not just a practical challenge, it is a personal attack. It triggers shame, defensive behavior, and a level of emotional distress that makes clear-headed problem-solving much harder. The paralysis of financial shame, perhaps the most practically damaging cost of the equation, is the paralysis that financial shame creates. People who believe their bank balance reflects their worth avoid looking at their numbers. When those numbers are uncomfortable, they delay conversations with financial advisors, accountants, or partners because the conversation would require them to face a situation that feels like a judgment of their worthiness. This avoidance has cascading financial consequences. Problems that could have been addressed early compound. Opportunities that required financial clarity are missed. The shame itself becomes an obstacle to the very behaviors that would improve the financial situation. Chapter 3. The Identity Divorce Process. Divorcing your identity from your financial circumstances is not a single event. It is a process, and like all real psychological change, it requires both understanding and practice. Step 1. Name the equation. The first step is simply to see the equation for what it is, not as reality, but as a story you have been telling yourself. A story that was given to you, that you internalized without choosing, and that you have the power to examine and revise. This requires honest self-inquiry. Notice when your emotional state is being driven by financial circumstances. Notice the thoughts that accompany financial stress. Notice whether shame, not just concern, is part of your relationship with your financial situation. Simply naming the equation makes it less automatic and creates space for choice. Step 2. Separate value from valuation. Your value as a person is not a financial quantity. It is expressed in your character, your relationships, your integrity, your curiosity, your care for others, your creativity, your courage. None of these have a market price. Your financial valuation, meaning what you earn and accumulate, is a reflection of your skill set, your positioning, your market, the opportunities available to you, and countless systemic and circumstantial factors that have nothing to do with your intrinsic worth. These two things are genuinely different. Practice holding them separately. When you achieve financially, celebrate the achievement without concluding it means you are now more worthy. When you face financial challenge, address the challenge without concluding it means you are less worthy. Step 3. Build identity on non-financial ground. The most durable protection against the net worth as self-worth equation is a robust sense of identity that is not primarily financial. What do you value that has no price? What relationships matter to you because of who you are in them, not what you bring financially? What work do you do that feels meaningful independent of its financial return? What kind of person are you when no one is keeping score? Building a rich, detailed, multi-dimensional sense of self that does not hinge on financial success creates an inner stability that actually supports better financial decision-making. When you do not need your financial outcomes for your sense of worth, you can approach financial decisions with clarity and strategic thinking rather than emotional reactivity. Chapter 4. Wealth without identity. Entanglement. Here is the paradox. At the heart of the identity divorce, when you detach your self-worth from your financial outcomes, you almost always become more effective at building wealth. The clarity dividend. When financial decisions are not emotionally loaded by identity needs, They can be evaluated on their actual merits. You can look clearly at your numbers, however uncomfortable they are. You can admit mistakes and correct them without the admission feeling like a verdict on your worth. You can take calculated risks without the outcome defining your identity. This clarity is enormously valuable. The resilience dividend financial life always includes setbacks, failed bets, unexpected losses, and periods of contraction. These are not character flaws. They are the normal terrain of building wealth in a complex, unpredictable world. When your identity is not tied to your financial status, you experience these setbacks as practical challenges to be addressed rather than personal failures to be survived. This resilience allows you to bounce back faster, to learn without shame, and to maintain the long-term perspective that wealth building requires. The freedom dividend, perhaps the most profound gift of the identity divorce, is freedom. Freedom to pursue wealth because you genuinely want to build something, not because you need it for your sense of worth. Freedom to make financial decisions based on your actual values and goals, not on the image you need to maintain. Freedom to be transparent about your financial journey without shame. This is what it looks like to be in a healthy relationship with money, not indifferent to it, not obsessed with it, but engaged with it, clearly, strategically, and from a place of genuine security. Conclusion: your worth is not negotiable. Your bank account balance is a financial number. It reflects your current economic circumstances, your skills, your market, your timing, and 1,000 other factors, many of which are entirely outside your control. Your worth is not a financial number. It is not negotiable. It does not fluctuate with the market. It does not improve when you earn more or diminish when you earn less. It is a fixed, foundational fact about who you are as a human being. The identity divorce is the practice of holding these two things separately, of pursuing wealth, energy, and strategy, while refusing to let financial outcomes define your sense of yourself. This separation is not passive or resigned. It is fiercely active. It is the work of building an inner foundation so solid that no financial outcome, positive or negative, can shake it. Build that foundation, and from that foundation, build anything you want, including wealth.